Hello. So, for anyone who hasn't met me before, my name's River, and I'm the tutor of the courses at School of Celebrancy, OBOD's School for Training Celebrants. And I wanted to speak to you this evening about the importance of being inclusive in our ceremonies. Um, I'm going to say a little bit about the how, but first of all, I want to begin with the why. Um, Before that, I'm just going to say a hello to a few of you who are joining me across the globe. The first person to join us is Brian from Michigan. Hi, Brian. Um, Nellie Kelly from Skegness. Um, Terry from Calistoga, Dan from Montana. Oh, it's really special to be with you all and be connected. Julie in Windsor, Vivian in North Germany. Welcome to all of you who are joining, and thanks for coming to spend this time with me. I hope that we will be joined perhaps by some of the people that have been part of the OBOD celebrancy training courses as well. So as I said, I'm going to speak about the importance of being inclusive in ceremony. And I'm not necessarily so much talking here about our OBOD ceremonies, though some of what I might say about inclusivity in ceremony might also be relevant to our OBOD ceremonies that we do as just OBOD members together, especially if there are ceremonies that we hold that have new people coming to take part or visitors coming. I'm talking especially about ceremonies that we might do in and for our wider communities. So I'm thinking, of course, about weddings and hand fastings, about funerals, about baby namings, and also about other ceremonies that we might get involved in for our local communities. A couple of examples from my own experience recently in the last few months. I was invited to do a little opening ceremony for an Extinction Rebellion gathering. It wasn't an action gathering, it was more of a sort of gathering of people together for a day of getting connected and doing training, and I was asked to do a little ceremonial opening. And then I was also asked by a friend of mine who was doing a project in our local library in Brighton, where I live. Sorry, I should have said to you right at the beginning that I'm speaking to you from a rather windy, rainy Brighton on the south coast of England this evening. And in our local public library, my artist friend created this big chandelier that was made from lots of recycled bottle tops. And the idea of this installation, it was called Shine a Light, was about a space for people to come together and share inspiration and have some really important discussions about some of the things that are affecting us in the world today. And again, I was invited to create a kind of launch ceremony for this couple of months of activities when the giant chandelier was hung. So any of these kinds of ceremonies, any kind of ceremony that I conduct, being inclusive is always one of my top priorities. Well, let's think first of all about the why that is. Courses have some sort of discussion threads. Both of those courses, there's one that's about funerals and memorials, and there's one that's about weddings and baby namings. In both of those, one of the first discussion threads we have is one that is titled "The Good, the Bad and the Ugly," where I invite people to share anything that they want to share, their best and worst experiences of attending ceremony. And I'm sure, like most of those students, many of you who are with me now have had that experience of being present at a ceremony where you didn't feel included. And lots of people shared examples of that. The kind that people have often mentioned are when, for example, there's a funeral and it's not always necessarily religious ceremonies that are the worst at this, but a lot of the examples been presented and shared with me are of, say, a religious service where it may have felt like the occasion was sidelined by the religious rituals, the going through the motions, or even at its worst, that the occasion seemed to be used almost as an opportunity to proselytise or to recruit people to the cause. So sometimes that exclusiveness can seem also almost, but it can also happen, quite unintentionally. I think it can be very easy to forget when our kind of ceremonial customs and habits are, and perhaps our beliefs as well, and our way of looking at the world, when those things feel very special and rich and meaningful and real to us, we can sometimes forget that this isn't the same for everybody that's with us, and that people who are present with us in those ceremonies might have very different views and beliefs. And actually, of course, that can be the case, even in our OBOD ceremonies. And in fact, for me, one of the things that really attracted me to the order when I first about 19 years ago was this sense of inclusivity. And I was so delighted, in one of the first of the Gwersu, our learning materials, we I guess many of you will remember this, being invited to reflect on different ways of thinking about divinity and being invited to reflect on monotheism and atheism and pantheism and polytheism. And of course we have Quaker Druids, we have Catholic Druids, we have Dharma Druids, I'm sure we have atheist Druids as well as polytheist and pantheist Druids, I'm sure, even amongst us in this discussion here. And of course, when we're conducting ceremony for our wider community, then we're going to have an even broader spectrum of people present. So I'm just going to touch a little on the how. I'm not going to go into great depth and detail here, but just the most important thing, of course, is bearing this in mind. And once we've got this, at the forefront of our awareness, then everything else we do is going to sort of flow from that awareness. But I always include pretty much in every ceremony I deliver just a little sentence that is almost always the same. And something like, sure, amongst us all here, we have many different views and perspectives and beliefs about whatever it is that the occasion's for. If it's a funeral, I might say the great mysteries of life and death. Whatever your own may be, please know that they are respected, and all of your good thoughts, perhaps your prayers in whatever traditions you may honour, are very much welcomed and appreciated. The important thing is that we're all united in our purpose here, which is, and then to state the purpose of the ceremony. And that sentence maybe takes a minute of the whole ceremony. I feel it's been reflected back to me time and time again, you know, how important that is, especially for somebody that might be feeling perhaps slightly uncomfortable because they do have strong religious beliefs perhaps, and they're worried that their relative isn't having going to have a fully religious send-off, or just for whatever it is, or somebody's at a ceremony that perhaps seems a bit spiritual, and that might be something that they might be a little bit uncomfortable with. So, and another thing I want to say about that being inclusive is in our sort of presentation of the ceremony as well. I think we can sometimes get really attached to what I think of as the dressing of the ceremony, and I mean literally, you know, perhaps ceremonial clothing, but there are also, you know, perhaps wands and ceremonial equipment and perhaps certain special forms of words that we use to conduct our ceremonies. Of course, there are occasions when it's appropriate to use all of those things, but I think it's really important to remember that those things are the clothing of the ceremony, and what is really important is whatever is really at the heart of the ceremonies that we conduct, to be really clear about what that purpose is, and to be very mindful in delivering the whole thing of really inviting everybody present, whatever their different beliefs are, make sure that they can feel really comfortable and really included with what's going on right from the very beginning to the end of our ceremonies. I'm going to just say one more thing, which is about we always conduct our obod ceremonies in the circle, and we invite the blessings, 4 elements and the 4 directions, and I, like many other celebrants, sometimes, well, very, very often do that myself in private before the ceremony begins, and sort of unwind that after the ceremony ends. And whenever I am inviting the blessing of the directions and the elements in a ceremony that's a community ceremony, you know, for mostly non-obody people, you know, for a mixed group, then I'll do that in a way that it tries just to bring those elements, you know, as they very much are, you know, down to earth, and to speak in language that hopefully everyone can relate to. And perhaps in the discussion thread later on, I will share a couple of examples of that maybe, and I can also share my little script that I used for that opening ceremony for the extinction event. So I think that's enough talking from me on this topic. Let's just take it now to just really settle. I just invite you to just take a moment of settling wherever you are. Perhaps have a sip of your tea. I've got a cup of dandelion coffee here. And those of you who like to light a candle might like to light your candle now if you haven't already, and you feel your feet on the ground, and perhaps close your eyes if that feels comfortable. And if you are an OBOD member, and if you're used to imagining yourself in a grove, then I invite you to imagine yourself in your grove, or just imagine yourself in a beautiful woodland space. And I would like to invite you to imagine that you're sitting beneath a beautiful mature beech tree. So perhaps you can imagine the way that the trunk flares out, that beautiful, smooth, silvery grey bark. That sense of a huge, calm tree trunk, the huge, calm presence of that mature beech, its roots spreading out far and wide, all around you. All of the different life forms that those roots are connecting to beneath the earth, that mycorrhizal fungal network. Being aware of all the life forms that will be around you on the forest floor, spreading out to the radius of this tree's roots and branches. All the little crawling, creeping creatures. Perhaps even little burrowing creatures that may live in the little holes amongst the root system. And as you imagine this tree spreading above you, the branches spreading far and wide, under those branches, through the seasons, the different flying creatures that may come to visit. The butterflies, the moths, the birds, the insects. The different lichens that may grow on the wood of the tree. All of these life forms sharing this space that is held by the beech tree, and you yourself held and welcomed, calmed and supported, strengthened and nurtured by this beautiful, gracious presence. Let's take 3 breaths together. Wherever you are now in the world, let's take a breath with this earth beneath all of the buildings, that wherever we're sat, and let's take a breath with the sky above us, this one sky surrounding us all. And let's take a breath with all the other life forms that we share this beautiful earth with. And then just wriggling the toes and the fingers and just reminding yourself of where you are in the world, the time of day, the weather outside. And let's come back together here. And before I say goodbye to this evening, I thought it might be nice to share with you a beach song. And this is one of a collection of tree songs, some of which, including this one, sorry if this starts to sound like an advert, but some of these songs, including this one, are in the book that Philip shared with you last week. And I'll also be sharing some of these on a tree song walk with my lovely friend Ritson at the summer gathering later on. This is a beach song that came from the Forest of Dean down in the west of England, which is a beautiful area with wonderful beech trees. And I had a wonderful time there with a group of women singing with the trees and connecting and journeying with the trees a couple of years ago. And the words of this song were written by Dawn Casey, who was with us that weekend, but really based on the words everybody brought to our shared experience from their journey on the beach. And I should mention, in this context, to me, I feel, and you may have picked up on this in a little visualisation there, that for me the beach is a wonderful, supportive helper and ally to whom I turn very often for help in holding space. And yeah, I'll share with you this song, and it works quite beautifully as a chord font, so if you would like to, wherever you are, you can sing each line after me, either in the same tune or in a harmony tune, if that's what you like to do. So, beach heart, shining gold, strong wise, mother old, beach roots, deep, deep down, anchoring, sunshine crown, beach arms, reaching wide, shelter little ones inside, beach leaves, dappled green, shade and light in harmony, beach skin, smooth and scarred, peaceful beauty, never marred, beach queen, matriarch, power and grace in our hearts. So thank you again, all of you, for sharing this moment with you. Hope to meet some of you again here, or perhaps at Glastonbury, or who knows where, maybe in the School of Celebrancy, perhaps in the outer world. Blessing on your day, your morning, afternoon, evening or night, and go well, all of you. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.